Right. What is up, guys? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we've got my man Sam in here, and he's coming in to get what he usually gets in the shop. But the reason I brought Sam in today is he has some pretty difficult aspects of his hair. We usually do, we're doing a 0.5 fade? 0.5 fade. Yeah, so pretty standard haircut, standard 0.5 fade. You know, nothing too crazy on the top, but there's some certain aspects about Sam's hair that we're going to talk about here that are actually quite difficult to deal with. So even though it's a haircut that a lot of people probably think they know, there's going to be a lot of tips and tricks in this one with things that you might not actually know how to deal with properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the consultation process with Sam, and I'm going to show you how I find the difficult aspects of people's hair before you start doing the cut, because not everything is as obvious as it seems, and people sometimes have things going on with their hair that aren't as easy to just see from looking at it. So we'll start from beginning, as if I've never cut Sam's hair. We'll go through the process, and then we'll figure out how to go from there. When I do a consultation for the first time with a first-time client, one of the main things I like to ask is, what do you like about your hair? And what do you not like about your hair? Because this is going to tell us a lot of information. You know, I could look at Sam's hair and I could think this needs to be done, this needs to be done, and this needs to be done. But if that doesn't deal with any of the things that Sam doesn't like about his hair, and it doesn't show me the things he does like about his hair, I could cut the bits off that he likes without taking care of any of the things that he doesn't like. So, Sam, tell me about your hair, man. What is it that you like about your hair, and what is it that you don't like about your hair?
So probably the first thing that I don't like about my hair, I'd say, is when it gets a wee bit longer, it kind of sticks out on end because it's so poker straight. So straightness is obviously quite a good thing that can kind of provide texture, but typically I don't like that it sticks out over here. And if it's cut too short, and in the past when I've had haircuts elsewhere, people have cut into the wrong pieces, and it makes it sit funny and it makes it stick on end. So that's probably two of the main things that concern me when I come in and considering what I want as a haircut.
So are we talking the corners of the hairline?
Yeah.
And then how it's going to sit on the edges here where it's sticking out?
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, obviously it's sticking out like that right now because I've not had a haircut for, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So
cool. So yeah, this is quite a common thing on some people's hair, or quite a common thing on people's hair, is when you've got really straight hair, a lot of times where you're building your graduation, you're going to end up clippering into this area and you end up creating like a wedge here. That's not the greatest thing to have on the silhouette of someone's hair when you look at it front on. If it's going up and then sticking out and kind of coming out as a bit of like a triangle here. And also when someone has a bit of a receding hairline, so if you come over here, I'll show you as well. Something we want to do is keep a little bit more of this length here. It's going to flow forward and fill out these gaps. The reason why this is important when we're talking about this bit here is we need to find a balance between keeping this bit long to fill in these gaps, keeping enough weight here so that the length doesn't flop over, but while also managing to take this in nice and square. And if you come look at Sam's hair a little bit closer, you can actually see the way that it jumps out. It gets really wedgy here, and then when it's long and it's a lot more easy to move and manipulate, it creates another kind of line here. So what we're going to have to do is have the fade join these panels together whilst also keeping this long enough to kind of flow forward. Another thing that Sam is aware of, because I've showed him, but he wouldn't know because he doesn't look at the back of his own head if he was a new client, is Sam's crown is pretty crazy as well. So when we have this length, it all sits nice. But if we take this too short, you can see these are going to want to spring up straight away. So I'm going to show you how to section all of this properly so that we're cutting all the hairs in the way that they're trying to grow so it lies nice and flat like this. First thing I'm going to do, obviously, wet his hair down. And then we're going to section his crown out, and we're going to break this up into little panels. So make sure you're fully saturating the hair. And if you come around the back here, you can start to see the growth patterns start to show themselves here. And you can see we've got like a panel that's growing this way. We've got a bit that's growing up and around this way. This is kind of growing to the right and then down. And then this is almost growing like that as well. So you can see it now start to separate itself into loads of different directions. The more times you section crowns like this, the easier the patterns become to see. So this is the center of the swirl here. You can kind of see it. And I'm just going to separate it here. And we're going to use this to split off the back from the front. On a crown that's got this, chaotic a growth pattern, you might not always be able to get every single individual hair going in the exact best position, but as long as you get the majority of them going in the right direction and you don't cut it too short, it should always be okay. And you can see it kind of splits around here as well. So I'm just going to take this up and around here. You'll know a hair or the hairs are lying where they want to be going because they'll lie a lot flatter to the head. You can see like these ones in here, they start to bend back on themselves a little bit because they're getting pushed in the direction, or they're getting a push in the direction that they don't want to grow in. So if we separate this a little bit more, you can see they start to lie a lot flatter. There we go. Turn that chain on. Right, so from here, we're going to separate, I'll do this side first. We're going to separate the top from where we're going to do our graduation. So if you want to do it perfectly, you can make two flat surfaces and kind of meet in the middle. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to separate from the line to the recession point, because I know I'm going to need about this much of an area to build this weight here, because we're going to need to build a little bit of support just to hold up the extra length that we're going to keep here so it doesn't flop down. So it's going to be a little bit of a disconnected panel, but when he styles it forward, it's visually all going to connect together. So we've got this side, and then I'm going to aim for about here. The things you need to take into consideration when you're choosing where to put this section is, one, where it naturally wants to split. You can see these hairs want to be groomed down the way. They don't want to be pushed that way at all. But also the head shape as well and what you're trying to do. Sometimes you're going to have to kind of make do having them in a position they don't want to be in, just so that you can build that extra little bit of weight. Or if someone's got a much rounder head here and we need more of the hairs to come out to build that square shape, sometimes you might need to take the section a little bit higher. Vice versa for if they already have quite a strong angle on the side of their head. So if you want to take a look at this whole section pattern now, it's basically a horseshoe section, but it's tailored to Sam's crown. So I'm going to start at the back here, where we're going to need to build this weight here and keep this length for the crown. And then we're going to do the graduation, and then we're going to layer the top. So I'm going to start right here in the middle. If you want to come to this side here, this will probably come underhand. So what we're doing here is we need to keep these hairs long enough so that they're not sticking up around here, whilst also taking it tight enough to the bottom to do our fade into it. So I'm going to pull it straight out from base, no direction either way. And I'm going to use the angle of my fingers to create the graduation. And then we get to the bottom here, fingers are right against the head. And this is where the clipper work will blend in. And see how this hair here is now going to fall to there. So it's not going to have too much springiness. We're going to follow this round, so split the old section in half. I'm going to push the old section into the new. We're just going to follow the head round. We don't want to be building up a big corner here or here. There's no reason to do that on this length of hair. And there's a guide. Split in half. Got the guide here. I've got the guide underneath the guide, I should say. And then just a little bit to take off here. And we'll find our guide here. So if we just pull it out horizontally, there's our first section. So straight down the middle. Can swap to overhand here. So find our guide. Find where we are. Yep, so a bit of this here. Remember, we're following the head shape round, so shuffle round the head as you go. You want each of your new section to be coming straight out the back, or we do for this haircut anyway. And that means we're going to have a round shape horizontally, triangular shape vertically. So you can see all this weight building up here. We want to move this weight line up to about here. So we've got a little bit of room for our clipper work and our 0.5 line here. But we still need to make sure we're building enough weight to have all those hairs on top sit on. So for this haircut, because we're working in such a small area, I'm going to control it with my angle this way like we did at the back. We can take a guide from the back as well. I'm gonna have my scissors underhand, just so we can fit in here. I'll tilt your head a little bit there, Will. You can see that weight line just moving up a tiny little bit there. And pushing each old section into the new. I don't want to be directing anything really on this part of the head. I want it all to be coming out square. So I want every new section to just be coming straight out from the head. There we go. Our weight line's now sitting up here now. And we've got all this that we can just clip her into. And we'll do the same on the other side. Oh. So same on this side, vertical section. We can see this little bit of weight that's been building up since the last haircut. There's not actually too much to take off. You can just see this corner that's built up. Maybe come like this way. Let's turn it like that. And we've got all this. And we've got a nice bit of cushion there. So for the top, we're just going to do vertical sections, because what we're going to need to do is cut it square, but we're going to need to push each of these sections further in towards the middle, directing them in. And that means they're just going to get slightly longer. We're going to have that extra length to fill out the hairline. And then if it's too much length, we can use this as a reference and we can bring it down and slightly connect it a little bit, but we'll see how it looks first. It's probably going to be mostly disconnected. So Take our center profile guide down the middle. See there. And we can, if we want to, even take a little bit from the crown here. Just this little bit here. Just to use as a guide for how much we're going to take off. So, some short bits in here. We're going to pick the longest short bit there. And we're going to bring it right up. You can see it in there. We're just going to cut this square all the way along. Split that. And then we're just going to work from one side to the other. So each of these sections is going to be pulled and directed back towards the middle. So if you look at this from the back there, you should be able to see the old section coming straight up and the new section coming at a slight angle back to that. And we're still working with where the pattern was on here. Find the guide. I'm cutting just above my fingers, helping me keep a cleaner cutting line. You're really going to start to see, as the head rounds away, me directing this a little bit further every time. Just pulling it back towards the center. I don't like to always use numbers for this, like 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, vice versa, because everyone's head's different. And if you use the same number system on one person's head, who maybe has like a flatter head than a rounder one, the shape's going to be completely different. So you kind of have to learn how to tailor your direction based on the actual shape of each individual person's head. Number systems are good when you're learning, just to basically try to understand what's going on here with your graduation and your layering and your sections, but as you go on and get more experience, you'll realise that it's not a one-size-fits-all. We've barely got anything coming off here at all, which is good. This is all the stuff we want to keep. So, let's check the cross-check. We should have built a tiny, tiny little bit of extra length towards those corners. Yeah. So you can see it's getting slightly longer. You don't want a massive jump up, you just want a tiny little bit. It just compensates for the head rounding and helps us keep a little bit more there to flow forward. We'll just do the same on the other side. I'm going to stay on the same side of the head, the middle, so you can see from the back again. It's coming back, old section, more straight up. We're just going to use that guide there. You can get quite fast at this, guys. You don't need to be going through this so meticulously slow. It's just because I'm recording. You should easily be able to rattle through this in 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how fast you like to work. So this side is the side that's going to be sweeping over to the other side as well. So we maybe need a little bit more length on this side than the other. We might need to connect this corner more than the other side. Let's see if anything's even going to come off here. Can't see any guide, but what we'll do is we just check it horizontally. Yeah, look, now we've built all the way to there. I'm actually going to keep that. When you're cross-checking, I know it might seem obvious, but some people might not know. If you cut the hair this way, you have to cross-check it the exact opposite way that you've cut it. So vertical, horizontal, diagonal, diagonal. And that'll reveal if you've cut the shaping properly or not. So now we can see, oops, stop that chair. We've now got all this length still to sweep over. We can maybe go through and take these little wispy ones off at the end. And then if it starts bulking up at this corner too much, we can connect it through here, just so that we don't have too much weight building up there. So, let me have a little look for this. We're just going to chop these wispy ones off the front. These are ones that are further down his forehead that when we pulled up didn't quite reach the shape we were cutting, but when you comb them down, because they're further down the forehead, they actually stick out through the bottom. They're not doing anything. You can just nip them off. Just try not to bang them in straight. And we can just connect a tiny little bit. Just under there. So, bit of sea salt spray there to pre-style it. Get the fluffiness in, add some grittiness, and then we'll maybe use the powder.
Yeah, 10 inches of powder or clay.
Yeah,
I think.
We'll do some powder or clay at the end then. Just rub all that in. And then we should see the crown should all lie down flat, even though it's in a crazy growth pattern. What we can do is we can just blow dry this first, and because it's all been cut in the direction it's trying to grow, it should all just lie down nice and smoothly. falls into the position. You just finger dry it.
When I'm drying my hair at home, should I dry it in a similar way?
Yeah, you can do, bro. I would always try and dry the crown first if you're finding that it's sticking up the most. I always like, not always, but on your hair, start from the back to the front. Your hair's so short though, man.
Yeah.
It should be easy enough to do.
Yeah.
But if you're finding that this is sticking up, just hit the centre of your crown with a hair dryer first.
Yeah.
And it should lie it down in the way that it's been cut.
Perfect, thanks.
So we'll add a bit of texture in at the end just to break it up a bit because it's sitting a bit flat, but
Yeah.
you can see this extra length here. We'll maybe take these away. But all in all, it keeps this fringe nice and strong now. We'll do the fade now as well. I'll take these bits off first actually. So you can see this weight as well that we've built up here. This is where the clippers are going to go into. And you can see his hair is actually growing down and back the way here, and then almost like straight down here. And that's all just because of the way his crown's coming. So these are just little things that you need to deal with on clients, even though, you know, a 0.5 back and sides might just seem like an easy kind of standard haircut. If someone's got crazy growth patterns, it can make it a whole lot more difficult, and if you don't know how to deal with it properly, you can make something that should be simple very hard, and you can mess it up pretty bad. So we're going to get our 2 guard, and we're just going to debulk all this and blend into our graduation there. So tilt your head there, well. You can see exactly where we're aiming for. So flat against the head, and then just coming off the head a little bit into the weight. Coming back against the grain here, where the hairs are growing back the way. And it's the same as in the skin fade tutorial that I put up. Exact same motion, we're just not going as short. Teeth flat against the head, and just coming off the head slightly as we're blending into there. Spin it around. You can see it here. We've got the same kind of thing going on, but the growth pattern's different. It's going down and then around his ear. But all in all, this is a little bit easier to scoop into. And look, just straight away, even though we graduated that, look how fast it can just become a wedge. So you just got to be careful. I'll tilt you slightly there. I'll open up to a 2.5, and I'm just going to softly flick at that there. And then we can sort the rest of it out with scissor over comb. Or clipper over comb, guys. I know some people like doing clipper over comb. They're both good. They're just different. And then we can just meet in the back. We've dipped it right round. You can see where we're aiming for here. You can see there's a septal bone here, so we don't want to be fading anywhere near that. And see if we can look at side on. We've actually got quite a nice square shape coming up here, even though we cut from here to here triangle, and he's got this bone sticking out here, just from doing our scissor work nice and clean beforehand. But then you can also see what we're talking about with this wedge that can start to build there really quickly. So we get 0.5. We're gonna do our line here, our shortest length. We'll maybe taper into the beard a little bit shorter. And just almost come in at an angle there to just scoop under those hairs that are growing back the way, just so we get them all down to the same length and it's all even. But I'm only going about a finger's width here. I'm going to go down to just a 0, just on the beard. A little bit shorter just in behind the ears. Those longer ones look darker, so just closed at a couple notches just around here. We can still shape it up around the ear a little bit too. Zero neck hairs, get rid of them. Notch it up a little bit and blend it into that. Same here, about a finger's width. You can just see how different all the colours go on hair like this when the growth patterns are different. Like his hair is so light when it's short, and it's like way darker when it's longer, a much darker brown. It almost just goes see-through, almost like kind of mousy. Fading is just colour matching. It's not so much always just putting one guard into the next. It's being able to see the dark spots and pick them away, match all the different colours together. Just join them together at the back. We've still got all this space before the bone. Should be really easy to blend that. So, one guard.
There's an outtake.
One guard. Opened up to 1.5. And then we're just gonna try not to go into this too much, maybe kind of skiff over the top of it, but we want to keep that and blend the rest of it with our scissors. So just the 1.5 just underneath there. So open the lever up, and we're just gonna, you can see all the hairs are growing almost in the same direction now, so it should be much easier. I'm gonna dig under the line and a bit more of a aggressive flick into the two. And it should just blend really easily here. See, I'm just almost skiffing that, but I'm barely even really touching where the graduation is. I'll tell you there. Against the grain. That line's almost faded out already. Close to the 1. And then we're just going to flick into the 1.5. Bit of a divot here. So just open the notches too and just digging in, just colour matching. Still flicking out into that 1.5 above it. Just going in between the guards just to take those bits in the divot a bit shorter to make them look lighter. Same here. And we can get 1.5 guard, open it up to the short too, and we're just going to clean up around there. We can close it to a slightly longer 1.5, and we can just dig into any darker areas. We just want to slightly pick into them, we don't want to ruin this shape that we've got here. We just want to kind of dig in underneath it a little bit. Smooth it all out. And then we'll get the trimmer and we can just do like a little light shape up around here and around the ears. We'll take this corner bit off the back of the beard as well, add a bit of strength to his jaw. I'm not going deep into this, I'm just taking this corner off the back here. We'll maybe clean up this bit a little bit for him too. You almost nailed it yourself, bro. Almost.
Had to leave you with some work to do.
And we can just around the ear, just touching the hairline. There's not really too much to do here. I'm just using the corner, the last kind of tooth or two, to draw the line around the edge. And down the back. You can see just touching that a little bit just makes it all pop out. Gives a little bit of a frame for the fade. And same here, tilt them forward a little bit, find where there's some strength in here, where there's a nice gap to work into. I'm just going to go take all these little scruffy ones that are lying on the edge. I'm just going to go through here. You don't want to go too deep in this, but sometimes if it's really sparse, you've not really got much of a choice other than to take a decent bit away or leave it, but I think leaving it on this hair is going to look worse than just kind of digging in a tiny little bit more. And then we can properly flick away this into the zero that we had. Right, last little bit here on this side is just to soften these last little bits in together with scissor over comb. You can use clipper over comb for this. I'm not against using clipper over comb, some people are. I just think you can be a lot more accurate, especially when you're working in small areas with scissor over comb, it's a bit softer. But some people are absolute weapons with clipper over comb, so do whatever you find comfortable. There's no right or wrong here, really. I think you should be able to do both, though. Or you should learn to do both. You can see how much it changes just from cutting it a little bit. So you've got to be very, very careful around here. We're just trying to marry the fade into the graduation. You can see it here when I scoop under. You can see how these hairs are a little bit shorter and those ones are a little bit longer. You're not working with a lot here. Maybe better from there. You can just see it starting to come together now. Sometimes you need to go back in with the clippers, the 2 or the 3, touch it up a little bit. Just pick away at it until it's looking good really visually. Sweet, and we'll do the other side as well now. So this side, where we've got more of that kind of wedge building up a lot faster, I'm just going to do similar to last time, but I'm going to start with this guard just to soften that a little bit first. This can happen because you've dug in a little bit too tight with the scissor or with the clippers to start off with. You've not taken your graduation tight enough, or you just have reactive hair with weird growth patterns. So you always want to be able to adapt and change kind of what you're doing as you're doing it. You can see it starting to kind of reveal this much sharper kind of wedgy area there. So we're just going to flick into that tiny, tiny little bit and then we'll get the rest of it with a scissor over comb after. Close this down to the long 1.5. Go down to the short 1.5. Like you can see, the actual fade here is easy. Like blending the 0.5 into the 1.5. Takes no time at all. It's the little bits and bobs merging the top with the sides that's hard. And that seems to be something quite a lot of people actually have a hard time with. That's why I usually teach to do your scissor work first. I know a lot of people will come on and say you don't need to do that, you can clipper over comb it, but if you don't actually understand the weight that you're building and the graduation you're doing, yeah, you can visually just clipper over comb a lot of haircuts, but you're never going to be able to tailor it as accurately to everyone's individual needs. I'll tell you right here, Bo. Perfect. And make sure you're tilting your clients' heads as well. I'm tall, I'm 6'4", so I'm looking down on my clients, so I need to move them like this, so I'm looking at it more flat on. I don't see the light shining down and creating shadows. If you see shadows and they look like dark spots, and you pick the dark spots away, and then you actually move the head and shine the light on it properly and realise that wasn't a dark spot, it was a shadow, and you've just taken a part of the haircut shorter than it needs to be, that's not usually good, and it's harder to fix. So make sure the angle of the head suits you and your height and the angle that you're working from, really. Like, this is such an easy fade to do here. Just taper that down. We'll go a little bit short with the trimmer again. And where's it? Yeah, so same again here. I'm just going to continue this line down, take this corner off, just touch it just to make it tiny little bit sharper. This side's much easier, the way it's growing actually. It's easier to catch the hairs with the trimmer. I'll swap over here. I'm just gonna shape this up as well. Again, this side's much easier to shape up. It's less sparse. Sometimes that can happen as well. Sometimes someone has a really nice side to shape up and the other side sucks, and then you have to make the good side match the bad side, because you can't make the bad side match the good side. So just be aware of that. You're looking for symmetry. That's just going to blend right into that zero we just done there. Then around the ears. Holding the ear down, I'm going to use this as a bit of a rest. And we're just going to use that teeth, or use that tooth to go around the ear. So I'm barely going into the hairline here. I'm just touching the edge of it. Let go, push his ear down, using this as the rest now. I'll scissor overcomb this last bit. You can see even the way this is sitting, you're almost doing something different from the other side. It just looks different the way you're doing it. Then we have all this coming forward, sitting in here, and then we can just fill this in there. Last bit, probably the easiest bit. Not usually the easiest bit, but it is on Sam's. And we're just doing 1.5 and 1. Everyone's already tapered down. Everyone's already graduated. And look how fast we can just fade that out. Barely even need the 1. You can just see just the tiny bits of darkness around where that bone starts to dent in, but not really a lot of work at all to do. Just flick off the last little bits of the taper with a 0. One and a half guard to smooth this last little bit out. Now tuck your chin right down there, bro. You can see now as well, like the silhouette. Not got really much of a wedge. Just in case we've missed any. Now we can just foil away all those neck hairs. We'll chuck a little bit of texture in it too as well, actually. So I'm just going to take horizontal sections. We didn't really need to do any connecting. You can see this little bit of weight's built up here. We're going to keep that. We're just going to slightly chip into it. So I'm almost just going parallel to the hair. I'm not taking a lot out. Sam's got actually like his hair is fine. It's soft and fine, so we don't want to be whacking big chunks of texture into it. You can see it's just slightly breaking it up a little bit. Not going to do any through these corners either. We're going to keep all that. You can see where we built more weight on this side. So we'll break up some of this. And then a bit through the middle. You can see we almost have that kind of shape there, which sounds a bit counterproductive to do, or a bit of a mental thing to do, but it's tailored to what he needs to solve the problems that he feels like he has. See if we can just touch this a tiny little bit, just ever so slightly, just because this is the more difficult side to get to sit. Just a tiny little bit, especially under here where it's a bit darker. Do you usually use clay or powder? What do you use more?
A few seconds if you want to let it cool down.
So I'm going to put a tiny bit of clay in this, not much at all. It's got some sea salt spray in it as well. And it's just going to bring the texture out that we just chopped into it and give it a little bit of hold, take away some of the floppiness. Make sure you're getting it through all the hair. You can see now, got all this sitting nice and strong now. Bit of texture in here behind. And close your eyes well. Sweet, nice and simple, easy little haircut, couple of obstacles to overcome, and there you go. There we have it, guys, a nice, easy, shop-friendly haircut. A couple little tips and tricks and pointers for dealing with some difficult growth patterns, difficult crowns, and difficult hair in general. Making something that should be easy, stay easy. Thank you for watching, and yeah, give us or subscribe to the channel if you want more tutorials, and anything else you want to see, just leave us a comment and we'll get a model in for it and we'll show you. Thank you.